There are three strong presences in the old State Bank of Decatur, Alabama. The second that can be found on the first floor is that of what is presumed to be a Union soldier named Ben. Ben is a taciturn fellow, prone to fits of swearing and unnerving growling. A full-bodied apparition in Union soldier attire has been seen here, and as the old bank was utilized as a field hospital, the bank vault itself as a surgical suite, which for the time was, of course, rudimentary. There is no surprise that at least one Union soldier may or may not linger within the 190-year-old building. Ben has been described as an extremely malevolent being and definitely does not like strong women. He's also been described as both a prankster and a liar, and it would seem the other spirits in the building fear him. Ben's name was arrived at the same way Seth from the Ramsey House's plantation was discovered. Several consistent mentions of the same name across many investigations over several years, all attributed to the same entity, either by spirit box use or through medium or sensitive interpretation. Now, there is a historic Ben associated with the old State Bank who spent many hours there when he was alive, and who also died before the Civil War, his passing sometime in the 1840s. However, historians are absolutely certain that this historical pre-Civil War era Ben and bitchy Ben of the bank vault are absolutely not the same person. By all accounts, the historical Ben who spent time at the old State Bank when it was a bank throughout the 1830s and possibly 40s was a gem of a man and much beloved by many in the area, with no reason to be as bitter and angry as the entity that now resides in the bank today. No, by all accounts, the entity of Ben is quite the opposite. Angry, taciturn, bitter, and cruel, sometimes pretending to be more innocuous spirits in a bid to intentionally terrify investigators or witnesses. There is nothing nice about bitchy Ben of the old bank's vault, as I like to call him. And you all know me, my little strangelings. I am a big advocate of not antagonizing a spirit or entity, a firm believer that kindness and patience will get an investigator and investigation further. However, there are always exceptions to every rule, and after hearing about Ben and his growling habits and generally nasty disposition, I'm glad to make an exception for him. He is responsible for several EVPs and a strong malignant presence in various parts of the bank, but particularly in and around the vault. He has also got a penchant for lying, and like any classic narcissist, when you call him out for his lies or contradictions, he immediately gets nasty and starts growling and employing various intimidation tactics. Suzanne said she doesn't like talking about him, as any sort of attention tends to stir him up, and she would much rather not do that. So there wasn't a lot I could gather about him beyond the bad attitude, and that she saw him once during an investigation performed by a father-son duo, one season, in which the father grew a bit antagonistic, and while he was crowing about a reading on one of his instruments, she said she saw him, Ben that is, materialize somewhere behind the man. She said that he was most definitely wearing a dark blue Union uniform, and that he had a look about him that made her shudder, and that just as soon as he'd materialized, he was gone, as though she'd almost never seen him at all. This encounter may or may not have been caught on video equipment employed by the team of ghost hunters that night, and if you happen to be one of that dynamic duo, I for one would love to see if it exists. As for current investigations of the old State Bank, there are some investigators lucky enough that they will be going in this October. However, they will be limited to the first floor in the scope of their investigation, and the bank is currently closed for all further investigations at this time due to structural concerns with the stairs leading up to the second floor. Indeed, the only reason that I even have footage of the upstairs is because it was a slow Tuesday morning at the museum, and Suzanne was gracious enough to take my phone on a walkthrough for me, as she is the only one authorized on premises to now go upstairs, and it may be the last glimpse the public will get for a while. So a big thank you to her for the footage of the apartment and rooms up there. I do hope that after all of the structural inspections and reports come in, that the upstairs will be found sound, and that the next time I visit, there will be an opportunity to visit up there in person. For now, we're still waiting on the final report from the structural engineers, and if the old State Bank does need extensive repairs, you'll know, my little strangelings, because I'll have any links for fundraisings and donations to make this gem of a haunted location whole again, and at the ready as soon as they're available. History, especially actively haunted history like this, is far too important to lose. Up next, we'll have the cherry on top of this special location, so stay tuned.